Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about F-16s, because during the previous 12 hours we received significant number of updates about this aircraft. And this is the first photo of Ukrainian F-16, more precisely this is the F-16 that was flying somewhere above the territory of Ukraine. At least the sources that published this photo were saying like this. Furthermore, we got report from different experts that Ukrainians are able or will start using F-16s just by the end of this summer. So most likely, according to these sources, during the next few weeks we're not going to see F-16s in combat. But on the other hand, other sources reported today, for example the Telegraph reported that during the previous few days the Ukrainians have already used F-16s but as air defense. Anyway, we don't know for sure who is telling the truth, who is lying, whether F-16s already above the territory of Ukraine or not. But today we got also another photo from Lvov, from, let's call it like the most western city of Ukraine, biggest city of Ukraine. We see the picture and the sources are saying that this is also F-16 that was flying above the capital, let's call it like this, of western Ukraine, about Lvov. This photo was geolocated exactly in this area. So somebody, let's say in the central part of Lvov, was filming or making photo of something flying above him, and later he stated that that was F-16. Okay, let's move further. About Zelensky, we have additional updates that Zelensky is going to begin to start or to conduct a referendum in Ukraine regarding the territorial integrity. He's saying that this is not the thing that he can make decision by himself. Zelensky tells Le Monde that accepting territorial losses would be a very difficult decision and suggests he might put it on to a referendum. He also admits that it will continue Putin's victory. So anyway, regarding the fact whether it's going to be a referendum or not, the European countries and Zelensky himself began preparation of Ukrainian population for these very unpopular actions. And we got very interesting report from China. According to information we have, China added some blocks to export FPV drones. We know that Ukraine and Russia are the biggest buyers of this type of weapon, and starting of the 1st September, China is going to reduce the number of drones that anybody in the world can purchase. Of course, this might deal significant damage to Ukrainian military defense. Now let's move further. Let's talk about the situation on the ground. During the previous night, the Russians bombed Ukraine with significant number of Iskanders. According to information we have, at least explosions took place in Dnipro. As for territorial changes, we have additional updates on the ground, and the most interesting updates are coming from Pokrovsk direction, from Krasnogorovka, Pokrovsk, so let's call it like Western Donetsk area. First, let's talk about Krasnogorovka. According to pro-Ukrainian mappers, the Russians, as a result of offensive operation during the previous 24 hours, managed to improve their positions in the southwestern part of the village of Pokrovsk and in the northern part of Marinka. So these fields were captured by the Russians, and if you remember, we just yesterday discussed about the demining process, that the Russians were trying to demine the fields using this route of attack, but the Russian tank was destroyed as a result of FPV drones, and we made the conclusion that this is the next Russian target, and we were completely correct. Today the Russians improved their positions between Krasnogorovka and Marinka, and obviously the Russians are planning to move further in the western direction. Now let's talk about Pokrovsk area. We have additional progress, we have a lot of changes on the ground. Yesterday we haven't received anything neither from neutral mappers nor from pro-Ukraine mappers, and today we got significant changes. And the most important one is that the Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to enter the village of Timofeevka and to capture this territory completely. This information was confirmed either by pro-Ukrainian mappers and by pro-neutral mappers, and by pro-Russian sources. The Russian sources reported that the village was captured. So most likely today the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation will confirm this information. the Russians began full-scale offensive operation in direction of Ivanovka from the south. Significant changes on the ground, as you can see. A lot of fields, a lot of trenches, a lot of fortifications, a lot of tree lines were captured by the Russians during the previous days. And now we can make a conclusion that Ivanovka is already semi-encircled. So very difficult situation. The most important that a lot of trenches, a lot of strongholds were captured, like this one. This information was confirmed by different mappers, including pro-Ukrainian and neutral. The Russian mappers haven't adjusted and haven't provided us anything regarding this situation. Anyway, the storm of Ivanovka is about to begin. Also, after a very 2-3 days operational pause, the Russians continue moving along the railways towards Zhelanya, and according to information we have, the Russians answer Zhelanya from the northwestern part. This is very important, and according to information we have, the Russians improved their positions in the fields between Zhelanya, Vovche and Novoselovka Persha. So this is also the thing that we were discussing during the previous videos. The main thing that the Russians are trying and are planning to achieve in this direction is to establish complete control over this rich network of the fortifications, and the Russians require they need the road, supply road between Zhelanya, Novoselovka Persha and Avdiivka. The more supply roads they have, the easier for them is going to be the next ways and the next steps of offensive towards Pokrovsk. Now let's talk about New York agglomeration. We have additional progress of the Russians on the ground. The Russians are moving along this small short tree line towards Alexandropol and Panteleimonovka, and according to information we have, during the previous 24 hours the Russian got additional few hundred meters towards these cities, towards these villages, and they're about to establish complete fire control over the road between Alexandropol and Panteleimonovka, which will allow the Russians in the very near future to resume their attempts to attack this village from the south and from the southeast. So let's wait, something interesting is going to start happening very soon. Also, according to information we have, during the previous 24 hours the Russians improved their positions in the central part of New York, and the Russians managed to cut the main supply road that goes from Sukhaya Balka towards New York itself. So this road either was cut by the Russians physically or at least with the fire control. We have some information that was confirmed by different mappers. So this situation is getting very interesting. During the previous 24 hours we still haven't received anything regarding the situation in the cauldron between New York and Gorlovka, but anyway, after the fall of the last supply road, the Ukrainians can rely just on the village of Nilipovka, but most likely the Russians are going to move in this direction as well in the very near future. So there might be not even one, not even two, but probably 3 cauldrons at once in this area. Now let's move further. We have some changes on the ground that are coming from Kupiansk direction. Something big is happening on the line between Rygorodka and Makiivka. As for Makiivka, yesterday the Russians reported that they're about to clear this territory, but today we continue receiving updates about the Russian FPV drone strikes and Tuzlan tower strikes all over the entire village. Not over all over the entire, but some part that is considered as contested area according to at least the military summary map, and the Russians were bombing this territory, and most likely the Russians still haven't established control over this territory. Now let's move further. We have additional changes on the ground. The Ukrainian 3rd Azov Brigade published the video of how they were storming and attacking the Russian positions on the line between Novoigorovka and Karamzinovka. So based on the video that was published by 3rd Azov Brigade, we have adjusted the map and we have added additional territory under complete Russian control. So this is the positions that were under very heavy fire. On the other hand, we got the video from the Russian side of how the Russians were bombing the Ukrainians in the vicinity of Sergeyevka and Nadia. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map, of course, in Ukrainian favor by adding additional fields under their control. So this is the situation, very heavy clashes as we can see. As for Kupiansk and as for Kharkiv direction, just few updates. For the 100th time in a row, the Russians bombed the same road, the same bridge between northern, between western and eastern part of Kupiansk. Once again, again without dealing significant damage. According to interesting statistic information that we got from Ukrainian sources during the previous months, as I understand, or since the beginning of Ukrainian resistance, around 40 cars, 40 vehicles, military vehicles were set on fire, were burned by the Ukrainian resistance. A very heavy activity, as you can see, very huge activity of Ukrainian forces, of Ukrainian resistance rebels, of Ukrainian rebels, let's call them like this. That's it about Ukraine. Let's talk a little bit more about Israeli-Iran conflict. We have additional information, we have additional updates. First of all, we got details how exactly the Israelis managed to destroy the head of Politburo Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh. This is the building that he was living in, where he was located during the attack, and the sources are saying that the rocket was so accurate that the rocket entered the window of this building and attacked and hit Haniyeh himself personally, not like explosion somewhere in 2 meters from him, but right exactly in his body. So very accurate, obviously. As for the reaction of Iran, according to information we have, the three independent sources of the New York Times reported that the leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, ordered to attack Israel directly as a response to the death of Ismail Haniyeh. And the United States sources reported that the Pentagon tells CNN that in the next 72 hours, Iran and its affiliates will launch a large-scale attack on Israel. And during these days, yesterday and probably today, the Western diplomats will ask the Iran to stop, not to react to this action from Israel, because this situation can lead obviously to the Third World War. But despite the attempts from the Western diplomats to stop the escalation, we got report that the American Airlines, United Airlines, told RIA Novosti that today it is stopping regular flights to Tel Aviv for security reasons. 72 hours and something big is going to happen. But I'm sure for 100% that the most important update is coming from the Venezuela, where the President Maduro demanded Elon Musk to start fighting and between each other, because Elon Musk called him a clown. So, and according to information we have, Elon Musk accepted this fight, and this is going to be very interesting because now Maduro needs to accept this as well and to choose the place where they are going to fight. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.